Hello, our dear audience. Today we have Brandon Leibowitz, who runs and operates SEO optimizers. Brandon has been involved with digital marketing since 2007. What a veteran. Will share his knowledge about SEO, social media marketing, and Google Ads. Everything we need today, right, guys? So, hi, Brandon. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me on today.
So you have it's a huge experience. I expect you have some gray hair hidden because since 2007, that's a lot. And I just want to ask you about your path and your digital marketing evolution. Like, how has digital marketing evolved since 2007? What do you think the most significant changes, like in the past, how many, like 15 years? And what was the biggest change? What was the thing that, well, you remember? And like, what's the difference now?
Probably AI is a big change that happened recently, and that's just a big change that really stirred everything up and just trying to figure out what to do, how it's going to affect everything. Are the search engines going to now incorporate AI into the search results, or what's going to happen? And it's definitely an interesting one with AI. I feel like that's probably one of the bigger ones that have changed over the years. I mean, there's lots of changes, but AI is just such a big one that it's really stirred every industry. It's not just one little thing that Google might have done to update their algorithm. It's pretty much affecting everyone: writers, bloggers, email content writers, copywriters, social media content creation, all that could kind of be automated now. So just trying to figure out how to use it in a way that offers value and not just is regurgitating incorrect information and spitting it out, because that's not what we want to do. We want to offer value, but we'll just have to see what's going to happen, how it's going to take effect, and how it's going to really change everything. Because right now it's in the infancy stages, but it's just growing and adapting so quickly.
Exactly. AI is so big right now. I feel like we should rename our podcast because every time we have a conversation with anyone, with any businessman, marketeer, anyone, we just always we get to AI. We always discuss AI in a matter of everything because AI is a huge change, and as we said previously, it's as big as invention of the wheel right now, right? Because it changes everything in this point. But we all into e-commerce, and I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions on that. I know you have an expertise, and I wanted to ask you about e-commerce marketing. Like, can you share some unique challenges and solutions you've encountered while working with e-commerce? Because for me, it's usually, when the product is there, we know it's there, but it doesn't exist. I mean, you can touch it. Sometimes you can't see it, but you always have to find the way to introduce your product. And it's the biggest challenge for me. I wonder, how is it for you? Maybe it's easier for you.
Well, with e-commerce, the big thing is, depending on how many products you have, is how you structure your store and how you categorize the categories, subcategories, subcategories, and really structuring the website in a way that makes sense, because the hierarchy is it's really important to Google. And if you're just throwing everything together and clumping it all together and just generic collections or categories, it doesn't really help out. So structuring in a way that makes sense is really important, because if you're selling, let's say, t-shirts, and you optimize one product on your website to rank really high for that t-shirt, and then it gets a lot of traffic, but people go to that page and like, this is not the t-shirt I was looking for, they're gonna hit that back button. But if you have a category or collection full of t-shirts and you optimize that page, and then you let them land on that page, and then from there they can narrow it down to what size, what color, whatever it is, but giving them more options, that's gonna be a lot better versus just giving them one product. So the hierarchy, very important on how you structure it. For like t-shirts could be the category, then you have subcategories of men's, women's, then you can break it down by like designs or graphics or colors or whatever you want to do to get granular. But you got to figure out a way that makes sense to structure it in the hierarchy that's going to be easy for people to find, but also easy for search engines to read through and understand and make sense of it, so they rank the correct pages and you don't compete against yourself and start cannibalizing your own results, which is what happens if you have a lot of products. Google doesn't know what to show. If someone searches for t-shirts and you have 20 t-shirts on your website, Google's like, all right, which product do we show? You kind of become your own competitor. But if you have a category that has all of them encompassed in there, then Google's like, all right, let me show this page versus guessing which 20 of them is the correct one. And now you become your own competitor and you dilute your results. So that's a really important aspect of e-commerce's, or just in general for all websites, but more specifically towards e-commerce, is structuring it away. And I would say, look at your competitors, see how they structure their website, or look at Amazon or Target, Walmart, any of these big corporations, and see how they structure it, because they've probably done all the hard work for you. You just got to look at what they've done, incorporate what you think works into your own website, still do the research on your own. But big corporations have big teams of people doing this work. So you kind of rely on their knowledge, expertise to give you a starting point, and then from there you build out on it.
Definitely. And I see a lot of SaaS companies who have products that basically compete with each other. And I think that's the first thing that every marketer should do, is finding that inner enemy you have and eliminate that and make it work for your company. Because it's obviously a very common mistake we see, even with the huge companies, because sometimes companies are so, they are so into their own context that they forget about these things. Like, oh my God, we just created 2 incredible products, and they don't even think that, yeah, they might be incredible, but at the same time they compete with each other, which is a huge problem for your audience, not only for your SEO but for everything. And this leads me to my next question, and to be honest, it's my favorite, because every question about content is usually my favorite, because as every marketer, as every person in this field, I think about content basically every day. I think I research content, I think what we should do next. It's how this works, what kind of stats do we have? All right, these things just died off, we should think of something else. And this is why I want to ask about your approach to content creation on different platforms, and what kind of strategies do you use for engaging different audiences? Because we have to change this thing rapidly, because the world is changing rapidly. And what's your approach to the content creation? How do you usually do this?
With content creation, I try to put out there as much as possible, creating value. That's the biggest thing, is not promoting yourself, but offering value. So depending on what type of content, if you're writing an article, keep it informational. Don't really promote yourself, because once you start promoting yourself, people are going to lose interest, especially if you're blogging on your own website. You got to take a step back and think, if you're reading your own blog, would you want to keep reading it if it's just promoting yourself? Probably not. So if you offer value and offer insights and tips, that's going to be the number one thing with content creation, and just making sure that you have unique content. Can't just copy it from one page to another. Google doesn't want that. They don't like duplicate content. So whoever publishes the content first, they get all the credit, and whoever copies it is not going to get any credit or any ranking value off of it. So original content, very, very important. And also that it offers value. That's a big thing. Is in the past, Google said, we don't want content written by AI, but nowadays they really can't differentiate it. So they said, as long as it offers value, that's what matters. Don't just copy verbatim from AI, because it's probably not going to offer value, because it's not 100% accurate. But if you use it as a starting point, maybe then make like an outline and guide you along creating that content, that's going to be a lot better. Just be careful. Don't copy it verbatim. Take everything that you see or read from AI with a grain of salt, because sometimes it doesn't know the answer and it's going to make it up. It's called AI hallucinations, where it just kind of throws something out there, doesn't tell you it's making it up, and you're probably going to think it's accurate information unless you really dive deeper into it. So content creation, just make sure you offer value, write for people. Don't really worry about putting keywords in there. Eventually your keywords should be in that content if you're writing about a specific topic. If not, then maybe you got to reevaluate that topic and figure out, why am I not incorporating these keywords in here? Maybe I'm going off topic a little bit too far. But essentially, really just focusing on offering value for people.
And this is a great tip. Actually, not a lot of people know about it. And surprisingly, not a lot of people know about it. Like, if you generate your article with AI, Google actually knows about it. So even if you have to do, at least ask your AI to not look like AI. I heard that thing works better, still not good enough, but still works better. And the rest, like even AI services that can, like, I don't know how to even call it, un-AI your text, so it doesn't look like AI, which is better for Google, as I heard. I don't know. I haven't tested that yet. But yeah, not a lot of people think about that. They think that any text is a text, but no, it has a structure. AIs have a structure, and Google knows about it. So be careful with that. And I'm so happy about, every time I have a conversation with marketing expert, it feels like we have a community. Like, we're always on the same page, actually. There is like nothing like really weird ideas. We usually like follow the industry. We know what works, what doesn't work. We feel like if we would go to some kind of a lonely island, like we would be good together, because we're always on the same page. And this is a great sense of camaraderie. So next question about paid advertising. Yeah, and it's always a pain for all of us. Sometimes it just works. Sometimes you have a campaign and it just like clicks. You don't know, you haven't done anything special, but it works, which is good. Sometimes it doesn't, and you like you're trying to use every technique available. You try broad targeting, you try narrow targeting, you try everything. You talk with a LinkedIn consultant or Facebook consultant or Google Ads consultant, everything. Say, you see, I've done everything right. Why isn't this working? So this is why I want to ask you, how do you optimize paid ads? And what are some common mistakes businesses usually make? Because I know there is something something similar in all the mistakes happening. And what are the common mistakes you would advise to avoid?
Probably not focusing on the negative keywords. So depending on what type of ads you're running, there's tons of different ads. But if you're talking about Google ads where you're based on search keywords, you got to figure out what keywords you don't want to show up for. That way you stop bleeding money and really optimizing your campaigns, because a lot of people just set them up and forget them, which is how all the companies make money. But you have to go in there constantly testing, seeing what works, what's not working, pulling money away from what's not working, pushing money away or pushing money into what is working. So you can see maybe females 30 to 35 are clicking on your ads, but they're not converting. Cut them out. Maybe males 40 to 45 are clicking, converting. You push more money into that. So it's all about testing, optimizing, and testing and testing and testing. Not just set and forget it, but test the landing page, test your keywords, test the ad text, the creative, the banners, the videos, whatever you're putting out there. But you have to be testing it. If you're not testing, then you might be making money, but there's a lot of missed opportunities that you're bleeding out, just wasted clicks, or you're not going to be profitable because you're not really optimizing to the full capabilities of what's out there. And when you optimize, you actually scale back, because now you're like, let's cut out all these segments that aren't working. And now I have all this extra budget where I could test other things out, maybe test some videos, test some banner ads, test some Gmail, test some display ads, test a lot of different things you could do with Google ads. There's a lot of different ones out there. So I'd play around with all of them and see what works, kind of just like throwing everything against the wall initially and seeing what works, push more money to that, pull money away from what doesn't work, because you never know. Every audience is going to be different. We're both selling the same exact product. Facebook ad or video ads might work really well for you. Banner ads might work really well for me. So it's all about just testing and finding that sweet spot. And once you find it, just going all in until you hit those economies of scale, and can't scale any further without diminishing returns. But initially you want to find that sweet spot and just kind of push it as much as you can.
So, and it's a great advice too, guys. So every time you fail at your campaign management and you fail at your paid ads, just tell your boss you're experimenting. Just tell your boss you're testing out things, because yes, sometimes things should work and they don't, and sometimes you have to, well, experiment more. You should do more tests and things like that. It will definitely work, but time, you need some time, you need some micro budgets. You will need then to optimize a thing or two. But yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work, and you have to, I don't know, you have to hope for the better. So the next question, it's actually, I feel like it's like a grandfather of all the marketing channels. It's email, and we all use it. We still use emails. I still send probably 50 emails a day, and I receive even more. And sometimes, well, I need to find someone. I need to hunt a client, for example. I need to connect with a partner, and this thing is so old and it's changing so much since probably 10, 15 years ago, that I think it's worth discussion, because we're still using it. We're still into emails. And I want to ask you about, how do you create these effective emails, email marketing campaigns, I don't know, newsletters, and do you work with these things? And do you have any unique practices of building and maintaining an email list? Like, because we still have to work with this, right?
Yeah, no, it comes back to the content. Is just offering value. If you're just promoting yourself in your emails, nobody really wants to hear that or listen to that. So just provide value and really just focus on providing value to the reader. If you're just promoting yourself, they're gonna hit that unsubscribe button and you're gonna lose that person. So just really try to take a step back again and think, if you subscribe to someone's newsletter, what would you want to hear? If you're subscribing to like a dentist newsletter and they're just telling you why they're the best dentist, not really informative. But if you subscribe to the newsletter and they give you like 7 tips to whiten your teeth at home, much more valuable. You'd be like, all right, this is actually something unique, insightful, that's going to help me out, or why you should floss, or just something more informational, beneficial, versus just why we're the best, awards we've won, trade shows we're at. People don't really care about that stuff. So just really offer that value for pretty much everything online. And never buy lists of email addresses, but collecting them, it's not the easiest. But if you offer something for free, that's going to help out. So if you just say, subscribe to my newsletter, probably not going to work. But if you say, subscribe to my newsletter, and I will get, or not subscribe, but download this free ebook, or if you're e-commerce, here's a 10% off coupon for first-time customers, something like that, where you're incentivizing people. That's going to get them to probably give you your email address, and then just offer value. Don't promote yourself. And that's going to keep them subscribed.
Exactly. And one of the worst practices is probably to send an email to someone and say, hi, how are you? Like, is this the right place to discuss my feelings and things like that? Like, you have to approach me with something already. And so, some people like saying like, as you just said, they mention they provide services. Like, we provide services, and the usual reaction lies like, keep going. Like, I don't know, like, do your thing. I don't care. And you have to come up with something. For example, I just had a genius like email sent to me. Like, a guy recorded himself while he was watching a podcast. He recorded himself and said, hey, Anton, I'm watching your podcast. This is so nice. Let's have a call. And I had a call with the guy. I don't need his services, though. We couldn't even connect, but we had a call anyway. This is how creative his tactic was. And I was so flattered with him watching a podcast and liking it and recording it, spending actually a minute or two. So be creative. I don't know. Show people you appreciate them, and don't just send an email like, how are you? I have friends and family. I'll have that discussion later. All right. And customer success stories. Like, do you have a good interesting, maybe you have an interesting example of you can share a success story where your marketing strategy significantly impacted clients' business, and what were the key factors in that success? Because we always want those cases. We want the proof of people being proof of expertise, of people being experts. So maybe you'll have a little story, and I'd love to hear that, to be honest.
Yeah, I worked with, I guess, one recently is a real estate agent. So helping them show up for keywords related to realtor near me, realtor in the city that they were focused on, but they're in a really big city, and that makes it really competitive. And with SEO, the more competitive, the more competition it is, the more time it's going to take to rank. So we're like, all right, how can we narrow this down and not get so deep in these heavily hyper-competitive keywords? Let's focus on specific boroughs or neighborhoods in the city, focusing on different like communities that are around there. So focus on if there's a gated community, creating content around that. So creating all these new pages about all these different areas within that city. That way we can focus on like gated community, or focus on townhomes or condos or anything else, just so it's not so hyper competitive. And that really helped them start breaking into those markets a lot quicker versus trying to go for these really, really hyper competitive areas. Like, for example, if you're in Los Angeles, ranking for Los Angeles, it's a lot of competition, but there's a lot of cities in Los Angeles, like Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, which are all very competitive as well. But if you break them down into like, all right, what are the neighborhoods in Beverly Hills? What are the gated communities? Let's create pages around these, optimize those. So if someone's searching for a gated community in Beverly Hills, that page would rank. And that really got them that visibility much, much quicker than trying to go for these really broad and generic keywords, where within about like 4 months, they started getting to that first page of Google for a lot of those keywords, and they start seeing their leads coming in more from the email and their phone forms. But that's also where, once they get you ranked, now we have to figure out how to optimize your website to convert that website, those visitors, into traffic, because not always are the websites really built for that. Sometimes they don't look good on mobile, or there's no call to action. So that's why we also had to go in and figure out, let's put your phone number at the top of the page. That way people see it right there, because we want people to call you. That's probably your number one thing. Filling out the form is great too, but rather get them on the phone. So let's push that phone number as much as possible and try to incentivize something to get people to want to call you. So offering like a free consultation, something like that, or just something to just kind of make it a little bit more incentivized, instead of saying just call me, giving them a reason to do that. And that helped them get a lot more traffic, a lot more business, got their phone ringing a lot more, and really just helped them get up there. Also helped out with Google Maps, because if you're a local business, want to get them ranked on Google Maps as well, because that ranks higher above the organic results. So making sure that everything was optimized on there by filling out all the information about their business name, address, phone number, the description, how long they've been in business, uploading images that have file names with keywords in them, and just making sure you fill out everything as much as possible in Google My Business profile to help Google really understand what this page is about, and then building citations, which are name, address, and phone number listings on other websites. So getting them not only listed on Google Maps, but on like Bing and Maps and Apple Maps and Yellow Pages and MapQuest and all these other maps, because the more maps you're on, the more trust Google's going to give you for Google Maps. So doing all those things got them much more visibility and exposure without spending money on paid ads.
Definitely. I would just want to highlight 3 points you just mentioned. First is when you about cities in Los Angeles. When you just like drove in Los Angeles and you've seen that sign Los Angeles, be ready to drive for 2 or 3 hours just to get to your place. Because yeah, I was so naive when I first started. I'm there. No, you're not there. It's still a lot of driving left. Second is if you have an offline business, you have an extra instrument. You actually should use your geo position, like you should use your location in order to get more clients. You have something extra. I jealous you. You have more things to work on. And the third thing is, yeah, when people make a huge decision, they usually call. Like we don't like calls from like people we don't know. That's common sense. But if you're actually about to make a huge decision, like buying an estate, you will probably call your real estate agent because you want to know for sure that person exists, that person is relevant, and that person sounds nice, because you will have to communicate with that person a lot. So if you think that calls don't work, they do work. There's just a time and space for that. And I'm sure this was a really, really good conversation. I'm sure our audience will know a lot from it, but I just want to ask you a more specific question in the end of our podcast. Like, I want to ask you about, let's imagine I'm just like starting. I'm new at this. I don't know, finished college, or I'm just trying a new job as a marketer, as a marketing specialist. And what would you advise me to do? What kind of things you would advise me to start with? And what kind of services do you provide so you could help our audience to reach better results in their activities?
If you're starting a new website, if that's what you're trying to do, is start your own business, and I would say build the website and launch it as soon as possible. The older the website, the more trust Google will give it. So if you're building your website out, it's taking 6 months, I'll throw a landing page up there, not just saying coming soon, but explaining what this coming soon is, have all this text on there, have content so that search engines can read and know what that page is about a little bit ahead of time. And then once you launch, just make sure that you add content to all the pages. Google feeds off text. They struggle with images and videos and audio right now, but they're getting better at it. But they really rely heavily on text. So the more text you have on every single page on your website, the easier it is for the search engines to read and really know what your keywords you're targeting, and trying to break down the website as much as possible, creating as many pages as possible that are relevant, because the more pages you have, the more keywords you could target. So looking at your competitors and seeing how they structure their website, how they built it up, their hierarchy, and building backlinks is also very, very important, because without backlinks, Google's not going to rank a website. They don't trust anybody, and you have to build trust up. And building trust is by getting other websites to talk about you. The more websites that talk about you, the more trust Google is going to give to you. And then they look at those keywords on your website. But it doesn't work the other way around. Without building backlinks, Google, unfortunately, is not going to trust a website, and they're not going to rank a website they don't trust. So those are kind of more higher level things. There's a lot of other stuff that needs to be done, but for anyone that wants to learn more about my services, I create a special gift for them if they go to my website at seooptimizers.com. That's SEOOPTIMIZERS.com/gift. And they can find that there, along with my contact information and a bunch of classes I've done over the years. I've thrown up for free so they could see step-by-step how to do a lot of stuff that we talked about. And also, if you want to book some time on my calendar for a free website analysis, I'm happy to check out the website from an SEO point of view, and they can book some time for free there as well.
So as you see, Brandon not only talks about marketing strategy, but he uses them. And I will put a link below with the website and the gift you can actually use like for free, and Brandon will help you out. Every time I have a podcast with the interesting person, it's a pleasure. But every time, I go through this list in my head, and every time you say something, I just do a check. Okay, I've done this. Okay, I've done this. Okay, I should get to that. I have a lot of interesting information, and I have a couple of boxes unchecked in my head right now. So thank you for sharing your experience and your wisdom with us. This has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for being with us. I'll plug all the information about Brandon in the description. If you're interested in the services, please follow and get a gift. It's a free stuff. Everybody loves free stuff. So get your free stuff right now. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me on.